everybody, and welcome back to the Book Promotion Library Book Tip of the Week. We are here to share some wonderful tips for you, always in your book process, your book marketing, your book promotion, those type of things to help you out. And the question I get asked so many times from authors is, what domain should I use for my website? Because as we grow our craft and we get better and better and better at what we're doing, all of a sudden we need an online presence. We need our own faction of place here. And as you come to this site, you see the bookpromotionlibrary.com. Makes sense that would be the process. But as an author, there's some other things that you need to think about as you're deciding on your website. Should it be just your name.com, like robalexauthor.com? Or should it be my book series, like the book series I have, sexychallenges.com? Should that be the name? And there's lots of thoughts that need to go into that. First thing I want to ask you is, what is your goal for writing? Are you just writing this one series of books or one book in particular? That can make a difference. But if you're going to write several different books, or maybe even want to branch out into different genres, I think it's important to focus on the author name in that sense of trying to get your author name. Now, another problem that comes up when you're trying to get your name, depending on your name, if your name is not unique, you might have trouble finding it. Even if you blah, blah, author, sometimes it'll be taken. If your name's Joe Smith, author, you're going to have a hard time finding that name. So you're going to have to put either a middle initial in there or something like that. And if that's the case, then that needs to be on your books too. Don't be putting Joe Smith on your books as the author if you can't get that website to, maybe you have to say Joe Smith author, Esquire, whatever you might have to put on there to get that name. Make sure that that's on your books as well. Because if they're looking at your books and they see Joe Smith and they just go look for Joe Smith's website, who knows where they're going to end up or what they're going to be. Now, the other option is to create a website for every series or even every individual book that you have out there. I did that with my Sexy Challenge line of books. So I have a website specifically for that. But this is something you really need to think about, because you're going to have to maintain those websites. And even as you branch off and you start writing, so maybe you write a series of books that has 5 books in it, let's say, and you set up a website for that and it's going, and you decide, I want to branch out and write another genre of books or another or a self-help book or whatever it might be. And so you set up a website for that book in particular too. The thing you got to understand is you still need to be maintaining that other website with your first series in there. So this is a big process that you need to think about. How much am I going to branch out as an author? How much real estate am I going to need on the web for my books? And as we get into the metaverse, it's even going to get stranger and wilder and even more crazy. But how much real estate am I going to have for my books? Do I want it just all under my name? So you come to my house, which would be my website, and all my books are here, and I can talk about any of them at any time. I can have a different section set up for each one of them. Or do I want you just to focus on the book? So those are the things that need to go in that thought process. And how you do that is totally up to you. It's your personal level. Look at your time constraints is one of the big things that I always tell people. Do you have time, if you want to write 3 or 4 different series, do you have time to manage 3 or 4 different websites and the comments and the questions and things that come up from those, even just the building of it if you're building it yourself. Those type of things are things that you've got to think about as you're going into it. So that I know I've not given you a clear-cut answer here today on what kind of domain you need for your writing, but I'm giving you some things to think about, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what fits best for you as you're going through that. And to throw another wrench in there, maybe you put it under your publishing company. Maybe you start a publishing company and you put all the books under there. It's a great thing to think about if your name is very common and you're having a hard time finding a website. If you want to put it under your name, maybe you put it under a publishing company name, like your name, Public Book Publisher, or something to that nature. But this is a big topic here, and it's something that you really need to put some thought into as you're going into it, because This is going to stick around. You don't want to be changing websites all the time. You don't want to be changing domain names all the time because that can get confusing for your readers. And the last thing we want to do is alienate any of our readers from being able to find our stuff and our little location on the internet there. So I hope you helped out. I love your comments, your questions about that. Keep those coming. Those are one of the great ways that I get some good feedback to decide what kind of videos I'm going to be creating here, what kind of tips to share with you guys, all as we go through this travel together as authors. You know, there's always going to be new questions pop up. There's always going to be new issues. So we're here to do it together. So I don't know all the answers, but I'm trying to get them for you and to share as much knowledge as I have had as I've been going through this process with you, the wonderful authors out there.